In this course, you will learn how to reach out to a recruiter, thank your supporters, and prepare other job search letters that are of importance. The first we'll review is a networking outreach. Often, after a layoff, when you're relocating or trying to update your contacts on your search, this can be a great tool. It's a very effective way to help make sure that you're getting your new job by getting your resume in the hands of people that are in a position to help you. The purpose of a networking cover letter is to let your network know that you're looking for a position and make a specific request for help, whether that be advice, contacts, or industry insights. You can send the letter in an email or a hard copy of the letter and your resume via mail. Informational interviews are a great way to make sure that you're gathering great industry and position-specific information from those who are out there living the life, walking the talk. So the first important thing when you're preparing this type of letter is to do your research first. Make sure your email is brief and to the point. You don't want to include your whole life history, but you do want to know that you're asking this person for a favor. So indicate how it is that you found them, why it is that you think that they would be a great individual to connect with, and then go ahead and make sure that you're following up on that request you made. Be sure not to waste their time. If you do land one of these informational interviews, and we talk about this in depth in a later series, make sure that you have clear objectives and are spending time giving in the relationship and not just getting all of their advice during that conversation. If you don't receive a response after the second email, I would go ahead and move on to the next person on your list. We sometimes use interview thank you letters, and by sometimes I mean you should be doing it all of the time. There's 4 key points for an interview thank you letter. Number 1, you want to address the person by name, Miss Jones or Mr. Smith, not Bob or Nancy, unless the interviewer has directed you specifically to use his or her first name. Thank them for their time and the opportunity to interview for the position. Mention one thing from the interview that really resonated with you, or perhaps an issue or answering a question you felt you didn't address properly during the conversation. But be careful not to use an apologetic tone. Instead, you might say something like, I want to clarify when we talked about curriculum development. I should have emphasized that I do have experience in lesson planning, having prepared a comprehensive course syllabus as part of my graduate class. I'd be happy to forward you a copy if you'd like. Make sure, again, you're not apologizing for something that you missed in the interview, but rather taking the opportunity to clarify. And finally, confirm the next step from the interview, including what action you will take or what you're expecting from the interviewer. And finally, we talk about selecting references and making that request. Generally, a potential employer will want to see at least 2 references and be formal employers. The advantage of preparing your references in advance is that you can take the upper hand and identify the best possible references, then controlling who you offer to that employer as someone to speak to. I would suggest selecting 3 to 7 different individuals to be preferred references. You want to make sure that, again, you're selecting them carefully. You should be reaching out to those individuals early to get their permission to serve as your reference. Always contact them directly, not just an email. And you may even consider scheduling an in-person meeting or over the phone to have that conversation about what it is you're hoping they would highlight. In order to do that, you want to provide relevant details about both yourself and your position. It's also an appropriate time to ask for a LinkedIn recommendation to make sure that you have that information permanently and not just when they're on the phone with this particular hiring manager. Immediately after someone is contacted as your reference, please be sure to send a letter or an email thanking them for serving as a reference and providing, again, your most recent information and updates on your job search. Thank you so much for joining us. Visit our blog to access our learning library and more free downloads.